Okay, everybody, thank you for joining us today for our sixth installment of the ROIPayments Bootcamp, hoping to help you increase your payments IQ. This is Brian Bonkowski. I'm the Managing Director of ROIPayments. I'm joined here with Joe Getz, who is one of the Senior Business Development Executives over at GlobalCollect. And today we're going to be reviewing the GlobalCollect platform, as they are one of our strategic partners, and getting a better understanding of where GlobalCollect fits into the overall payments landscape. So let's jump into it. For an agenda today, we're going to start with an overview of the types of clients ROIPayments typically works with GlobalCollect, where their sweet spot is, and then hand it over to Joe to walk through some of the corporate milestones, give you an overview of the platform, their value proposition, some sample customers, their acquiring partners, etc. Then we'll jump into product features, which will also include a live demo of some of their snazzy tools. We'll finally end with some overall sales and pricing and implementation guidelines, so you can have a better understanding of whether GlobalCollect may be a good option for you. So as far as the history of our partnership with GlobalCollect, as you can see here, this is a slide from one of our previous boot camps on multi-currency and multinational processing. We consider GlobalCollect in this stack to be on the technology provider front. They do have options for both acquiring and processing, and can field a lot of those requirements and contractual relationships with various acquirers and processors, but their real value comes in the form of their technology stack, and that's why we would put them in the technology section of our partner matrix. Now, as far as where we typically work with GlobalCollect on partner engagements, it's usually for US-based companies that are looking to go global outside of just Europe. A lot of US companies, when they're considering going global, they consider Europe first, and then the long tail of payments within Europe, and then other regions after that. Typical gateway providers and technology providers that we see performing well in the global space are all basically started out of the European markets. That said, most of them are focused on the European markets, and some of them do the North American markets. Where GlobalCollect really excels is in the alternative markets, the Latin America, Asia Pacific, some parts of Africa, some parts of the Middle East. They've made a significant investment into their platform in opening up the other types of geographies and payment options, both alternative payments as well as currencies around the world, and that's where we see them as being the most appropriate fit from a platform perspective. One of those is an acquisition they recently did of Sub-Uno in Argentina, I believe, right, Joe? That's right. Yeah, and that plays well to their marketing as well as the investment they've been making in broadening their platform and going outside of the traditional processing and acquiring channels in North America and Europe, and really hitting the long tail of those customers in other regions. So to that, I'm going to hand it over to Joe to give you a brief history of the platform, and then go into some of the more specifics around customers and product features and that sort of thing. So, and this is Joe Getz from GlobalCollect.
Thank you, Brian, for having me here today. I appreciate it. So GlobalCollect is a payment service provider, and we are based in just outside of Amsterdam. We have been around since the early 90s. We actually spun off from the Dutch postal system, also known as TNT. We started out as the invoicing division, and we quickly realized there was a key market there that we could kind of capitalize on. So we actually spun off as a separate company, first doing invoicing and then building our platform around credit card processing, and eventually multiple forms of payment like alternatives and things like that. In 2005, we had a management buyout, and then in 2007, we were acquired by General Atlantic. We have offices all over the world. Our offices are in Buenos Aires, in Brazil, in San Francisco, and in Singapore, and also Australia. So we really have follow the sun coverage for all of our products and our roles within our company. In 2010, we received our payment service provider PSD license, so we're actually able to process as a bank for some forms of payment. And then we established our presence in Latin America. In 2012, that's when, as Brian mentioned, we acquired Sabuno, which is a major payment service provider. And when we made that acquisition, we acquired all their connections to all the individual forms of payment within South America. Pretty much every country within South America, and actually Latin America, has their own national payment product. So instead of our customers connecting to each of those individually, connecting to GlobalCollect via Sabuno gives you all those products really easily.
And that's where we've actually had a lot of great success with GlobalCollect in Brazil, specifically around alternative payment methods, and that being Boleto. Joe will go into a little bit more of the platform and how different acquirers and different geographies for those acquirers can route. GlobalCollect can route specific transactions to different acquirers based on a number of various parameters, and that's one of the big value adds of the platform that we found. Again, for Brazil specifically, where local acquiring is preferred, you can route a transaction to Europe, and then if it does not approve in Europe, potentially if you have a lower fee in Europe, then you can route that transaction back to a local acquiring mechanism within Brazil. So pretty powerful stuff.
So just to finish up this slide, and then last year in 2013, we expanded to the rest of Asia and our presence in Japan and China. One of the things that's really important about GlobalCollect is that we have a small kind of boutique size list of clients. We've got about 500 clients and only about 400 employees. So there's pretty much a one-to-one ratio from employees to actual customers of ours. We really look for a partnership mentality with our customers. We want to grow with our customers as they grow.
So yeah, and it's safe to say this is not for a small merchant. GlobalCollect is not for somebody doing $40,000, $50,000 a month. They're really focused on, and we work with them on larger, more global merchants that are selling quite a few transactions and quite a few dollars. Okay, as far as industry focus, Joe, can you tell us a little bit about your industry focus? I see you highlighted travel, gaming, and digital goods here.
Sure. Travel, gaming, and digital goods are really our kind of three pillars of our market. We have global market directors in each of these verticals who manage that entire vertical from a strategic perspective. And from that, different account managers and relationship managers specialize within these different markets around the globe. So we've got coverage in travel and gaming and digital goods all over the world. Experts are available for any sort of consultation or sales or any sort of issues like that. But we've also branched out specifically into retail, software, and music. All these are kind of sub-verticals within the three major ones.
Cool. And I noticed you guys are also involved with some local kind of focus groups. I know the GRIN Global Retail,
exactly,
something or other international network.
Exactly, you've got it.
Where you partnered with Pitney Bowes and some Perfect Translation, some other people. We've had some good success with that group because it really comes to the matter of these each of your pillars they're really subject matter experts in these spaces on a global scale around payments specifically, which is a very unique offering we found.
Yes, we see ourselves in because of our involvement in lots of industry groups as as thought leaders within the industry. We really take an active role in education, an active role in kind of building these markets and really understanding what our customers want and what their customers want.
Cool. Okay, speaking of customers, here's a sample set of your customers.
Yep, pretty global, big names here. Lots of customers doing a lot of different things with GlobalCollect. There's a lot of flexibility with the type of products that we can offer, and all these customers here, have come to us with, different opportunities, and we're able to find value within our platform that can really help them with their bottom line.
And you'll notice here that these, a lot of these are obviously very large brands. These large brands have a global presence, so it makes a lot of sense for them to go with a platform like a GlobalCollect. There's also a handful of niche players here, specifically in the digital goods space, where maybe they're not a global brand, but the spread and the reach of the product and the service offering is such that it's very attractive to people in Singapore, and as well as people in Brazil, as well as your traditional customers in Europe and North America. So it's kind of like we see it as you guys are filling a niche of the long tail of payments as well as going after global brands. Would that be sufficient?
I would say that exactly, yes. And a lot of these smaller providers or smaller companies are based in North America and are very focused on credit card processing, because that's what we know here in the U.S. And when they try to go international, it makes sense for them to start with credit cards. But then it's very easy via a platform like GlobalCollect to then switch into alternate forms of payment around the globe. So we really provide that insight there to help them make it actually very easy for them to make that transition and go global.
And to that point, I'm actually going to go back a couple of slides here. So this we didn't really actually jump into the specifics of this slide, but each of these payment products and methods on the left are payment products that GlobalCollect supports, and you can see, as Joe was mentioning, is it very, very traditional for credit cards and debit cards being used in North America, but anybody who's going into the global markets really needs to pay attention to alternative forms of payment, because typically, in Europe specifically, in Latin America, it's going to be the preferred method of payment. It's not going to be credit cards, it's going to be alternative payment.
Exactly, and you can see here that in the U.S. and North America, there really aren't a lot of payment products. But as soon as you go to Latin America, you can even see the map there, because every country, as I said before, has their own specific product, and that's the way that those consumers want to pay.
Right. Okay, where were we? After customers. So as far as product features, I know we have a couple of slides here. Just to tee this one up, the complexity of payments without GlobalCollect. So we see this day in and day out. A lot of our clients will come to us, and if they need a payment gateway that can accommodate North America and Europe, and they don't really have any requirements outside of that, then it's not going to be a terribly complex integration into their back office. However, if they're starting to light up alternative payment methods, you see like Ideal and GiroPay and Boleto there, it becomes somewhat of a back office nightmare having to reconcile all these different payment methods and transaction types. You see PayPal here as well. If they're not all flowing through the same credit card, traditional payment and credit card gateway, and then it's flowing back into your back office, if each one of these individual pillars has to be reconciled to your back office, it makes it very difficult to do. So that's how I would tee up, I guess, this slide for you.
Exactly. So, just to kind of add on to what Brian just said, each of those providers on the right there is going to have their own separate reporting stream that comes back, as well as their own separate remittance stream. So your accounting team is going to have to deal with all these different types of reports, maybe integrating all those to your back office, and then dealing with all the different funds coming back and forth between those providers.
And then, here is I guess the holy grail of the GlobalCollect service.
Exactly. So the real value here is via one API to our WebCollect platform, you get access to all 150 plus product types that are offered by GlobalCollect. So we've actually made those connections already. We've received the report files back from those providers, and then we turn those into one consolidated GlobalCollect report and then give that back to our customers. So it really makes it simple for you your accounting team to deal with payments through GlobalCollect, because all those reports are going to come back in one specific fashion that it's identical regardless of the actual payment type.
And a lot of our mutual clients are then taking that report in aggregate and pulling it into their data warehouse and business intelligence tool. I know you have you guys have recently launched your own business intelligence platform, which we'll be showing a demo of momentarily. But important to note that this daily file can also be extracted and pushed out to an existing business intelligence infrastructure or data warehouse that can be then aggregated and put into whatever sort of dashboarding a company of this size typically has.
Exactly. And then one final thing here. One of the things, if you were to integrate directly to each of these providers, you're going to be pretty much wed to one specific currency. So one of the values of GlobalCollect is that we receive all those currencies from the different providers and then are able to offer some treasury management services where we can shift funds to certain accounts based on your needs, or shift them all back into one currency. Not all companies based in the U.S. are going to want euros or pounds, and we have the ability to very easily give those back to our customers in their preferred currency.
And important to note here, based on one of our previous boot camps around multi-currency and how you're going to be setting up a multinational environment, cash and treasury management with each of these transactions within the GlobalCollect platform, it's also tagging the transaction, if it is a multi-currency transaction, with that day's rate and the exchange rate. So reconciliation later in the process will be eased, as well as a potential audit. We've had a number of our customers that are audited or about to IPO, and going back and tracing a transaction from a transaction from Japan that was then acquired out of Europe and then settled into a U.S. account can be an arduous process, but GlobalCollect kind of streamlines that process.
Yes.
Okay. Now the one thing we mentioned before is your multiple acquiring channels. Now this is routing a transaction from one bank. If it doesn't authorize that bank, it goes to the secondary bank. Is that correct?
That's right. So we offer something called backup acquiring. In the case of a soft decline, let's just use credit card processing as an example here. If a transaction goes through a bank, there is a possibility that transaction could be declined for some reason other than fraud. It could be declined based on a blip in the system from the actual acquiring bank. The issuing bank could decline it based on some information that was transmitted. What GlobalCollect does, and specifically because we are bank independent, we're able to go after multiple banks for merchant processing MIDs on behalf of our customers. So what we typically do is we analyze where the customer is processing, who their customers are, where they have entities around the world, and then get merchant processing MIDs from up to 3 banks. And we'll set those up in scenarios so that if that first transaction fails because of a soft decline, we send it to our backup acquirer. And if that fails, we send it back to our third acquirer. So the real goal is there to not let that transaction get lost. We're actually trying to make sure that we capture that. And the way that we can cover ourselves the most is by putting these backup acquiring channels in place.
Very good. Yeah, so this is obviously something that a run-of-the-mill payment gateway cannot perform. So this is one of the core differentiators of the GlobalCollect platform.
So and then also based on where the customer is coming from, so their country, the language they speak, the BIN range of their card that they're using, and information around the currency and let's say the preferred payment method in their specific country, we're able to route transactions to a specific acquirer. So if your customer is coming from, let's say, Germany, it makes much more sense to have them routed through a European acquiring channel versus a U.S. acquiring channel. So our system has the intelligence to route the transactions based on all these indicators to a specific bank.
Sure, and that'll obviously increase approval rates and potentially decrease costs because you can actually route it to an acquirer where the customer's going to be paying less on interchange.
Exactly. So it saves the our merchant and also saves the customer because they're not having to pay a cross-border fee for example on their cards.
Very good. Cool stuff. So this is I guess kind of what you're going to be demonstrating in the live demo you're going to be showing, and these are some of the highlights that kind of differentiate your platform versus other platforms.
Yes. So one of the case studies that we did recently around this topic of optimal routing and backup acquiring, we took the data from a large U.S.-based online travel agency, and we took 2 months of their processing data, and it was 2 months of their declined transactions. And what we were trying to prove is that if we take some of your failed transactions, we can run them through our system with the backup acquiring model in place, and try to reclaim some of those declines. So what we did was, for 2 months, we actually it was for over a year, I believe. we took these transactions together and then routed them back through our list of backup banks. And over time, we saw that about 6% transactions were reapproved or approved that were previously declined. And this represented about $5 million of additional revenue for that year. So it was, not insignificant. This is actually a big deal. And this sort of backup acquiring really does work and really does help our customers improve the bottom line there.
Cool. And again, we've gone through the ideas of backup acquiring and the Elevate dashboards. What are these used for?
So the Elevate dashboards are Elevate is our business intelligence tool.
And it's a relatively new product, right?
Yes,
Launching the last 6 to 12 months.
Exactly. And it's really a tool. It puts the power of the data that we have in our system. We put that power in the hands of our customer. So they now have access to actually see these trends. For example, this OTA that had these failed transactions. Using a tool like Elevate would help them identify this without us having to actually prove it by pushing all these transactions through our system. So it's several dashboards that slice data in different ways and really let you drill down to specifics on authorization rates, where you're being successful, where you might need some improvement with your payment flow, what your chargeback rates are. There's really tons of information that's hidden within the data that you have, and these dashboards let you and your management see where improvements needed.
Which is great from our perspective, because pulling all this data, this raw data, into a homegrown business intelligence tool is not going to have the understanding or the umbrella of the payments industry and authorization rates and success rates and chargeback. This is all things that you would need to then our clients currently need to develop and build into and bake into their business intelligence tools, which could take 6 to 12 months, depending on the size of the engagement. So it's nice that these things are being offered out of the box, and we're actually very happy to start implementing some of this functionality.
And it really is right out of the box. And eventually, we're going to be able to port back in our customers' data too, to actually make this more rich and specific to our customers.
Very cool. Very cool. So to that, I believe we're going to be jumping into a demo here. This is it's a web-based dashboard, right?
Yes.
I'll let you click through here.
Sure, and it's all very simple. So it's basically set up with about 20 or so dashboards that really answer a bunch of questions. It basically, how is my site performing? How do my consumers prefer to pay? How can I improve auth rates? There's dashboards around fraud and fraud scoring. And specifically, we can, this kind of opens, it shows where transactions are failing and potentially why. So one of the examples that I want to show here is, well, first is authorization rates. So you can really drill down, and you can see here this graphic showing authorization rate over time. I'm just going to refresh there.
It's a live demo, folks.
There we go. Yep. This is data in real time coming to you. So authorization rate over time, and all these kind of little triggers down here. So first we are showing all flow from all countries, but we can really drill down to.
Before you do that, yes. So this is really interesting from our perspective, because this is showing the percentage of customers who are paying with credit cards, debit cards, eWallets, real-time bank transfers, checks, and invoices. This is a very good representation of how people are actually paying you. And how that fluctuates over time. So I guess you're about to drill into a specific country here? Or?
Exactly. I mean, it might not seem so obvious, but it actually is important to, very easily, just by logging in, you can see exactly what's happening.
This is the overall portfolio of every country.
Exactly. So then we can switch into, let's just say, if we want to see what's happening in the UK. Yeah, let's see. So you can see within that there are a certain percentage of credit cards, e-wallets, and bank transfers that are specific there. And then within that country, you can see most people obviously are going to pay with pounds, but there's still other flow there. So this right here tells me that you've got customers who want to pay in USD that are saying they're coming from the UK. So there's an opportunity there to maybe switch those to a domestic acquirer in the US, or have those funds shifted elsewhere. So it really opens, your eyes to the different opportunities there. And then you can see authorization rates. This is showing, several months worth of data, but it's very easy for us to kind of switch this into a daily view and see transactions as they appear, let's say over, on a specific day. And you can see where the spikes are, where the kind of valleys are. And this is really going to, help you understand, what happened on this specific day. Maybe there was a launch here. Maybe this is when your marketing team had made a change to actual payment pages. All this is good data that helps you kind of prevent, errors and issues from creeping up in your payment flow.
Very cool. Do you want to jump into this one as well?
Yeah. So the next one, consumer drop-off. I really think this is really interesting. So based on where your customer is coming from, what the different products they're using, we can help demonstrate where a specific person is potentially kind of dropping off in the payment process. So if you wanted to see the actual performance for a specific card type in a specific country, I'm just going to refresh again with our up to the minute data, you'll be able to see exactly why transactions are or why a consumer is kind of dropping off or dropping out of the payment flow at a specific time. So again, I mean, maybe there's an issue with the language. Let's say you want to see specifically on your, let's kind of drill into a specific country. So if we go to a country like, let's say, China, we can see, specific data that is geared towards your consumers that are in China, and actually see potentially why their consumers are dropping out of the payment process.
Cool. I think this is a great example of a smart company that developed a bunch of tools done to use internally and basically said, let's productize this, let's give it to our merchant base and our business partners to help them see, gain better insight into the business, and obviously this makes them a little more sticky of a customer too.
Exactly. I mean, these are tools that our operations team and our merchant services teams are using to help look for errors with our customers, helping them optimize their systems. And it really makes sense for us just to give that or put that in the hands of our customers.
Very cool. Let's pop back over to okay. So after the demo. And we're being mindful of time here. I know we'd said this is going to be about a 30-minute or so presentation, and we're getting to the tail end of that, but we're going to save some time for Q&A. I see we do have a couple of questions have popped up here. So as far as the GlobalCollect sales pricing and process, I think the important thing to note here is we feel GlobalCollect is a very good option for companies who want to drink the Kool-Aid, meaning they have significant business needs on the long tail of payments. They're either a global company or a company looking to go global. It's not for small companies, as we mentioned before. Their typical company is processing at least $10 million a year in online transactions, or 25,000 transactions a month. So these are not small customers. Obviously, with 500 customers in their portfolio, these are larger, more enterprise type customers. But how, as ROIPayments, how do we define an enterprise customer? It's a customer who has specific business needs around globalization, who want a consolidated platform to basically aggregate payments, whether it's U.S. payments, multi-currency payments, or alternative payments, into a single process flow and reporting mechanism, and then to flow back into the back office. That's where we see the real value add there. As far as the value proposition, again, it's bundling technology processing and acquiring into one channel, rather than having one or two or a handful of technology partners through a bunch of different acquiring partners. It actually does become quite a headache. So that being said, the implementation, the engagement process, the underwriting process, it's not flip a switch kind of a project. These are projects that can take, we say 2 to 6 months here, but I know some projects have taken significantly longer, and with specific customer needs, maybe they can be a little bit shorter, but that's a good rule of thumb. So it is a commitment. It is not like a turnkey type of a project. It is actually an implementation where you're assigned an implementation manager who's familiar with your line of business, and we've had some very good success with GlobalCollect. Is there anything you'd like to add to this?
Just that an implementation is longer the first time around, but when a merchant wants to add a form of payment, it's very easy because they've already connected via that API once. So it's very easy for us to provision a new product because the reporting is streamlined and the API is streamlined for all products. It's very simple to add down the road additional products. So it's an investment up front, but then it pays off when you try to really kind of enhance your payment footprint around the world. It becomes very easy.
Okay. Looks like we have a couple of questions here. Let me just read through this. Okay, so what type of requires? Okay, so the overall gist, the first question is from a contractual standpoint, if GlobalCollect is handling the acquiring for multiple, like what we call the backup acquirer. So if you have a backup acquirer, is that going to be multiple contractual relationships, or is it just going to be one contract with GlobalCollect?
So there's a contract with GlobalCollect. In some cases, certain banks will require a third-party signature where the actual merchant kind of works with GlobalCollect and signs the contract, or like a card not present agreement. But in general, you're contracting directly with GlobalCollect. Because we have the relationships with all those banks and providers, we know exactly which provider may want, that extra piece of information. So there's no need for your legal team to really get involved with that whole boarding process. We manage it from a technical perspective, but also from a relationship perspective.
Okay, so you're basically the front man and the funnel to all these different acquirers, and you handle them contractually, and you have an overarching consolidated agreement with the end customer.
Yes, exactly, and we're able to advise on the different different flavors of where the different providers might fit with your business model and the way that your company is organized.
Cool. Okay, the next question is. Okay, so the overall gist this question. With the business intelligence tool, can you pull in customer-specific data, product-specific data, like SKU data, into your BI tool, or is that something that would either have to be custom done, or is that not really even on your roadmap?
Right. So we're pulling in at the first round all the different payment data. So pretty much every piece of data that you pass through the API is then put back into our BI tool.
So they're asking specifically, they said SKU level data here. So can you pull in third-party data into your BI tool?
So at the current status, or at the current state of the BI tool, no, but that is definitely on our roadmap to be able to kind of bring in customer-specific data, because we realize that payments are just one part of the business, and this tool is really useful for lots of other parts. So as that data is available, we're always looking for pilots to help with that. And as I look at our roadmap, it is definitely there for us to add that functionality pretty quickly. So
very cool. Well, to that end, I think we are done with our QA. If anybody has any additional questions, feel free to jot down our contact details here. As always,